Well, good day, everybody. It is 1:15 on the 30th of October, 2025. It's Thursday. And, yeah, a lot about news. Let me put out a little bit of opinion before I get into the news here. I was going to say that in spite of whatever you're hearing or whatever you read in the news in the past weeks or maybe even months, if you've been listening to Russia in the past few days, you'll see that the government has been waking up a little bit. You know, they were on a little bit of a honeymoon, I think, with Donald Trump, and thinking, oh, well, yes, and you know what I was saying in this past videos, that everybody's kissing up to Donald Trump and all. But I think somebody made a comment that Vladimir Putin, instead of saying Donald Trump or whatever, he said the President of the United States and all that. But anyhow, the mood is changing a little bit, especially since, you know, Donald Trump canceled that meeting and put a bunch of sanctions on Russia. I don't know. To a certain extent, Russia plays the game too, just like Donald Trump. And matter of fact, Donald Trump even said that, oh, they're playing games, so we can play games too. But the deal is, Donald Trump is the first one that started playing the game. It's not Russia. So, yeah, well, like I said, I don't know, Trump is gaming them. Trump games everybody. So Trump is the gamer president, I guess you could say. I don't know. Yeah, okay. But it's like what I was saying about Trump some weeks ago, and I guess maybe it was even a month ago. You know, Donald Trump, he pulls a lot of these head fakes. He's doing head fakes, and I think it's probably some kind of a business tactic. He makes everybody think he's going left, and then he really fast he goes right. So he comes up with things that he says he's going to do, and then he does completely the opposite to throw everybody off balance. I don't know. What do you say? Do you say he's doing head fakes, or Donald Trump throws everybody off balance, or he's lying, or he's indecisive? That was the term that I was using, saying indecisive. I think I maybe give Donald Trump too much credit. You know, and a lot of it is because I'm hoping Donald Trump is. As a matter of fact, Lavrov just said that the other day. Matter of fact, he said it yesterday here in Minsk, in the Minsk Security Conference thing. I guess it's the third. You know, they're probably going to have them every year in Minsk now, maybe around this time. But yeah, he's basically saying that, you know, how Trump is, but I'll get to that anyhow. Let's see. I don't know. I was calling it head fakes. He's a head fake master, Donald Trump. You know, like in football, you know, you're running with the ball, or you're a tight end. I don't know about a long receiver. Oh, if you guys know football, you know, and then you fake like you're going to go this way, and, you know, and then turn around, do a button hook to catch a pass or something. But instead, you go the other way. I think one of the best ones in Seattle Seahawks, was Steve Largent. He throws everybody off, so he gets open. That's how you get open. If you guys know football. I don't watch football much anymore. I don't watch it at all anymore for, I don't know, 15 years. But I used to watch. I used to play in high school, you know. But anyway. So, but he does it. Donald Trump. He doesn't do that with governments. I think he does that with public opinion. You know, he's making everybody think one thing, but he's often doing another. I guess when you can say, oh, he wants to stop the killing, you know, that's another thing. And it's sort of like everybody is still faked out, thinking Donald Trump wants to stop the killing. But it's going right back to that in Gaza. And in spite of all of the violations over and over and over again by the Israelis, and virtually zero by Hamas, maybe it really is zero, he blames it all on Hamas. So, as I said yesterday in that video, and it's been confirmed, he collaborated with Israel. He gave their approval, and, you know, his full stamp of approval for Israel to be bombing all these places in Gaza again. And they bombed a place again last night, as you probably know, and it was what is it, one so far 104 people dead, and 200, I think it's 238. I wrote it down here, I'll look at it then. I think it's 238 injured, but of course a lot of those injured, they're going to end up dead, because if you had that many dead, a lot of them have serious injuries and they won't make it. I can't remember how many children he killed. I think it was like, I don't know if that was 20. I'll get to that. I'll get to the number of children, but there's one person that I've watched a few times, and every time I watch him, I got to watch him again. He was on he was on a talk show as a guest on somebody. You know, the thing is, it takes so much time to be watching all these hour-long videos, just like mine, I know. You know, making sometimes an hour. But it's Brian Berletic. He has the New Atlas, and he used to be the spokesman on these little videos. I don't know if they still have it. New Eastern Outlook, NEO, and it was a site. I used to watch that a lot many years ago when I was in St. Vincent, and then I said, I know that voice. Whenever I started seeing Brian Berletic on his show, the New Atlas, but he hasn't ever been fooled by Donald Trump, and he's a ex-Marine, or I guess, I don't know if you, most of them say there is no such thing as an ex-Marine, it's a former Marine. So anyway, he's a former Marine or ex-Marine or whatever, and he's living in Thailand, and yeah, very good political analyst and military analyst, of course. So like I said, he's not fooled by Donald Trump. I should check in and see what he's probably saying, all this stuff all the time, and I sometimes was saying like the things that Brian Berletic says, but I'm sitting there thinking, oh man, I really want it to be true. I really want Donald Trump to be somebody who is going to bring peace and all that. But sadly enough, you know, maybe in his personal life, sometimes he does good things, Donald Trump, and in domestic policy in the United States, there's a lot of really good things. There's no doubt about that. But as far as global and geopolitics, he's causing probably more trouble than Joe Biden. You know, Joe Biden maybe just over the long period of time caused too many problems, but Donald Trump, it seems every week he's changing something, he's head faking here and doing this and that. It's really terrible. So the lady's leaving. Oh, my girlfriend is leaving. Anyway, so let's see. I don't know. I guess that you could say that Donald Trump, he's like, he goes for the same things as all of those people on the dark side. I call it the dark side. You know, John Bolton. I mean, he just does it in a different way, but the result is the same. It's identical. You know, it's just maybe they want to do it a lot faster, like the neocons and the deep state. Yeah. And Donald Trump's peace through strength. You know, Zelensky, yeah, peace through strength, baby. We'll show those damn Ruskies, we'll get Ivan. I remember that in the basic training. When Ivan comes across the border, you better be ready, boy. You maggot, you reptile, you get on your belly. You crawl like a reptile that you are. So anyway, peace through strength. It's like conquest through violence. I don't know, maybe it seems they just put euphemistic words. Peace, strength, instead of conquest, violence, hegemony, you know, threats of violence, poverty, sanctions, you know, assassination, sabotage. That's what it's all about. That's peace through strength. Peace through strength. It's domination by all means, everything possible. Well, that's Donald Trump pretty much said that. He wants to dominate in everything. But he didn't say exactly how. You know, he wants to stop the killing. He wants to be friends with Russia. Yeah, I bet he does. Yeah, right. And Iran. Bombing Iran, doing peace negotiations at the same time you bomb them. That's a major head fake, I guess you could say there. Or Yemen. Oh, Yemen. I'll tell you what, Yemen. And I think a lot of people would agree with me. I think maybe even Jackson Hinkle and Pepe Escobar, more George Galloway, as a people, it's kind of like, you could say these are probably some of the most moralistic people definitely in the Middle East, maybe in the world, I don't know, because they weren't attacked by Israel, but they saw all these children getting killed and all these people getting killed, defenseless people, and Israel just bombing the crap out of them. And, at the very, very least, ethnic cleansing, and depending on your definition of genocide, I guess it does fit the definition of genocide. Especially, I would say, once you're starting to kill children and purposefully and happily killing children, there is no doubt I would call that genocide. And these are nasty people there. But the Yemenites, they saw this, and they probably knew that they're going to be in for big problems. So they stepped up and started going after the shipping, and they weren't even killing anybody. I don't even know. Maybe maybe anybody that's died from any Yemenite bombing or attacks or anything. It might even still be a 10, or it's probably way under 100 by now still. These people are not out for killing people. They want to stop Israel's killing. Anyway, no matter what they say, like I said, they're not bad people apparently, and they're the poorest country in the Middle East. And yeah, they have coffee. That's one of, and if maybe even the first place that started growing coffee beyond Ethiopia. Ethiopia is supposed to, I'm talking about coffee again, but I think they heard of, there's even a firm called Dancing Goats, and I believe this comes from, it's a coffee shop. You can look it up just to be, if you guys are like coffee, into it like me, but it's like Dancing Goats Coffee, and apparently how they found out that coffee has a certain effect is these goat herders, they saw these goats. This is I don't know if this is true, but they saw these goats eating ripened coffee cherries. I guess they would be ripened. And the cherry part is actually sweet on the outside. So you put it in your mouth, it's kind of sweet. It really is. And matter of fact, some people say you can make flour from that. You dry that and you can make flour. But anyway, they saw these goats eating the coffee, and of course they're chewing on the beans and stuff on the inside as well. And then they started jumping around, and so, and that's I guess where that came from. Dancing Goats Coffee. That's just in case some of you are interested in knowing at least one of the origins of coffee. So, and here we go back to Yemen. Oh boy, they must be, that's another thing. You can say that, what was it, at one point in time, I think maybe it was based through South America, the Catholic Church called coffee the heavenly brew. But at one time, this is hot history of coffee. I'm sorry about this, guys, but at one time, it was illegal. It was illegal, and it was, for example, like to take it out of like one country. Say if it was in Brazil, you can't take it across the border. It was like paraphernalia coffee, and I guess what happened was, I think it was in Brazil, and then they smuggled it, or maybe even like Venezuela. I think it's possible it was Venezuela, and they smuggled it across the border, maybe into Colombia, in a bouquet of flowers. So, and I guess that is fact, and it started going up through Central America and all, and then of course the coffee that went into Guatemala, and it was Typica. I guess maybe some of the first coffee was Typica. A lot of time they can't grow Typica anymore because it was susceptible to, I think, coffee rust. I was growing Typica, by the way. But that coffee went from Guatemala to Hawaii, and that's mostly in the Kona region, and that's, you can't call your coffee Kona. Even if I got my seeds were Kona, from Kona coffee. I bought some and had somebody send some to me, and I started out that way. But I can't call it Kona because I don't grow it in the Kona region. So you guys are learning a lot about coffee. Maybe I should name my channel Coffee or something like that. But anyway, I was talking about Yemen, and Yemen, there's a very small part that's tropical there, and they do, even to this day, they grow coffee there. It's a very, like I said, impoverished country. But anyway, maybe I should think about going to Yemen and growing coffee. I don't know how big the area is. Probably all taken up already, all the coffee growing areas. And I don't even know what they call it, the type of coffee. It's probably ground really fine, roasted dark, ground to a powder, like we call it Turkish fine in America. They drink it that way in Syria and all that too. But let's keep going. Stop! God, stop sidetracking me, you guys. Okay. So what I was saying is Donald Trump has all of us fooled. And it's absolutely amazing. And I was mentioning that in some other video, and I even forgot. I'm getting old, yeah. I forgot exactly what I was using as an example. But anyway, it's part of this thing that the Chinese, some big study, and I told you guys about it in another video. They call it cognitive warfare. But it's I guess you could say it makes use of cognitive dissonance, and they use cognitive dissonance. A lot of that comes about, and it's actually very much linked to cognitive warfare. It's like the media, they brainwash us. They tell us one thing, and Donald Trump is a major part. It's not because he owns Truth Social, his own media company now, making billions from it, billions and billions. Like he does with his tariffs, supposedly. No, he makes trillions with the tariffs. That's right. I don't know, but anyway, it's you use cognitive dissonance, and it's getting, you see people going around, they'll deny to you that the sky is blue. Well, right now it's white, a little bit of tints of blue and some gray over there, but they deny that. They're so fooled into being brainwashed. And of course, like I said, that's like, I guess they call it cognitive warfare. There's got to be a better name. If any of you guys know of anything, I would love to start using it. Just some kind of, I don't know, brainwashing is one, and what is it? There's another word. It's indoctrination, and anyway. So we get at least temporarily indoctrinated. I certainly do. Thinking Donald Trump is going to be a great person and all that, and gosh, And a lot of people, I think some people, of course, don't watch my videos so much anymore. Maybe because I went sour on Donald Trump. I don't think it was because I was kind of pro Donald Trump. Maybe it's because I went sour on Donald Trump. But I'm kind of in the middle. I don't know. It's difficult for me to say. Is Trump better than Biden? And is he or isn't he? I don't know. Maybe time will tell. As you know, a lot of these mistakes by these earlier Soviet leaders like Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin and Nikita Khrushchev, they're mainly at fault for what's going on right now with this problem with Ukraine, because they gifted all these different things to the region called Ukraine, and then after the Soviet Union crashed, they called themselves a country. So anyway, let's continue. But probably Brian Berletic, mention his name again. He probably knows about all this, and I hope China and Russia do. Apparently Russia's waking up. Maybe they've always known. Maybe they're just playing along. And Lukashenko, he acts real friendly and stuff too, but I think he's been around long enough. He's not a dummy either. And I think Lavrov was, like I said yesterday, where this thing with Belavia, and they still want to probably use Belarus as a stepping stone to bring Russia to its knees. In the darkness bind them, or whatever they say in Lord of the Rings or whatever like that. But I think it's I don't know. See, it's an easier step. And then of course, if they get Belarus, and then they start moving into Russia, if they've got Ukraine, which they're probably not even going to get that far. And then of course after that, it's going to be Russia. And these people, they probably have it's like the Israelis. They can wait 100 years, but they're going to keep expanding and conquering, and bring them to their knees. Anyway, that's how that is anyway. But Belarus is just a stepping stone. Like I said, Belarus was supposed to fall before Ukraine, and Lukashenko basically socked him in the mouth and so they said, well, let's go to Ukraine first. Back in 2020, and that's when you have Lukashenko running around with machine guns and things. So, and the expats, they were talking about that not long ago. They thought, oh, that's cool, man. They like Lukashenko here, and a lot of you out there do too. It's kind of strange with the Belarusians, because they're victims of cognitive warfare, big time, big time. I say that all the time. I'd like to find somebody that really has studied that and pick their brains and stuff and find out, all the little aspects of how they have, fooled a lot of the Belarusians into disliking their own leader, because I remember back in the old days, back when, let me think, back up into about, say, even at least like up to 2002, even the Russian people and I've heard it myself, even in 2003, Ukrainian people, and so many people, they said, we wish we had a leader like Lukashenko. And I guess at some point in time that says, well, damn, we got to really destroy this guy. So absolutely fascinating how they do this stuff. I remember even back when they Mitt Romney and all that, Ron Paul, when they were running for the election, and Mitt Romney's campaign threatened Ron Paul's and said, you don't say anything negative about us or we will destroy your reputation. They said that to Ron Paul. And at that time, strangely enough, Ron Paul and Mitt Romney were kind of friends, But I don't know if they were after that. You never know. So, okay. Trump wants to separate China and Russia. Is that a revelation? No, obviously he does. So anyway, he's even said that he wants to get China to stop buying Russian oil. Oh, we'll see. You've heard him say that. I think it was last week. And I guess this meeting now, they just had this, maybe it was over yesterday, I guess, with Donald Trump and Xi. And Donald Trump, said, well, we're going to see if China says they're going to help us with ending this conflict between Ukraine and Russia. But that's all that Trump said. So who knows what he's going to come up with. I think a lot of times he's lying or exaggerating, at least. I don't know. Okay. But it's like the U.S. was successful in separating Germany and Russia. One had all the energy and the power and the resources, and the other had the production capabilities. And in a way, it's amazing. How do you possibly, I don't know. I have my own theories. How do you possibly take somebody away who is obviously your best friend? You take your best friend. I mean, it's who is your benefactor, who's doing more for you than anybody else on the planet, and then separate them and make them enemies. And I'm talking about that from both aspects, from Russia's aspect and Germany's, because Germany was probably Russia's biggest partner at that time, and then they had to pivot to Asia, I guess. Were they talking to Obama? No. Anyway, but like I've talked about it before, I believe Scholz was compromised in various ways. He was caught in corruption scandals as he was the Bürgermeister, the mayor of Hamburg, and who knows what else more is that, And it was like Oscar Lafontaine, who also ran for chancellor at one time. He's married to what's her name again? Sarah Wagenknecht, who is the leader of the Sarah Wagenknecht Union Party in Germany, and she was head of Die Linke, the left, the leftist party before, and now she has her own her Sarah Wagenknecht Union. But anyway, he said her husband, Oscar Lafontaine, like I said, he ran against Helmut Kohl for the chancellorship, the leadership of Germany, back in the 80s. And he said it was amazing to see Olaf Scholz, even as Joe Biden stands up there at one podium and Olaf Scholz at the other, and Biden saying he's going to basically destroy Nord Stream, and Olaf Scholz just sits there like a scolded schoolboy. That's what he said. So isn't that incredible? We are going to destroy your energy supply, and this guy's just acting like nothing, you know, acting like, you know, he ripped a flatulent and he's hoping that nobody can smell it or something. So that's what Schultz was like then. And then you got this guy right now, this clown Merz, this guy with the egghead-looking alien, kind of an alien-shaped head, and got less hair than me, quite a bit less than I have. But anyway, Merz, he was the guy that brought BlackRock in. He's a big tie to BlackRock, the wealthiest organization on planet Earth, probably richer than the government or the entire country of China. Well, maybe not that rich, but anyway, as an entity, he's BlackRock. And Larry Fink, of course, now heads the World Economic Forum. So, boy, oh man, alive. So, Merz, he's getting himself a golden parachute like all these people are. Anyway, that's what they're all about, all the politicians in the West, you know. First, they're threatened and they're frightened. You know, we know. Do you like your children, or would you rather, you know, that they get buried in a nice cemetery, or do you want to just cooperate with us and make yourself a couple million? And that's exactly how they do it. So, very simple, very, very, very simple. Trust me on that one. So let's see. But Merz, he's, you know, like I said, because of that, he's very easy. And who knows what stuff he's been into. And as you know, BlackRock they bought a huge amount of like farmland in Ukraine. So, yeah. And I was even talking about that, what was that, months ago in videos. And I was wondering, well, how is Trump? But it turns out it's not happening. It's not. I was thinking, obviously, see, like I said, that was a head fake. They head faked me. You can probably go way back. And I don't even know when it was. But I did that video. And I was wondering, well, how is this fitting in with BlackRock? They bought a whole bunch of land, and you know, are they just going to walk away with it? You know, support Donald Trump and all that? But it turns out they're not. This is amazing. And I think Brian Berletic, like I said, he's smart enough to probably know this stuff. Great guy to interview, probably. Okay, Trump, and of course, the USA and all those people, they're still looking for some leverage on China. And I don't know, if they can't find it, it makes you wonder if they're going to try what they did to somebody did to Charlie Kirk. You know, and how are they going to get that close to Z? If they, I don't know. But Z is probably doing his own little head fake right now and acting like he's kind of cooperating with Trump. But who knows? Yeah. Maybe they're going to call Israel in. The exterminators, you know. And Benjamin Netanyahu, he's even said at times, he says, let us do the dirty work, let us do the dirty work. I'm not talking about in this case with China, but he's in other things. You know, make us look bad. You know, we can look bad. We'll do it. We'll do your dirty work. Wow. And you can, I know I've heard him say that. I don't know. It's like, what? That doesn't sound possible. But trust me, it is. So Israel made, like I said, another bunch of attacks. I guess it was 46 children. They killed 104, and it was 46 children they killed last night, 253 injured. I probably said that number wrong. Of course, more of those are going to die because, you know, you think they're letting in a lot of these machines that are going to help them, or the medication. They're not letting that much into Gaza still. They're still blocking it. So there's probably some needed medicines. Terrible, terrible situation. Really. You know, the most moral army in the world, the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, yes. Yeah. Okay, I've been mentioning many times, I don't know if other people have mentioned this a lot, but I said that the United States has troops in Romania. I remember I was telling you that they had 82nd Airborne was sent there, and then from there they were using them also in Ukraine. It's sort of like just where their base is at, and then they had them going into Ukraine. And what they were doing, I don't really know what those troops were doing there at that time. Remember when they bombed this pizza parlor? And I think it was on the other side as well. And I think they killed apparently some of the military leaders, probably like majors and captains. I don't know. I doubt it. It's not any generals, I'm sure. They did get them and a couple other hits, I guess, the Russians did. But anyway, and the troops are running around. You saw, speaking American English, undeniable fact, with 82nd Airborne tattoos on, and young guys with haircuts. Oh yeah, mercenaries. Yeah, they have many years of experience. No, they're not. They were young guys. In their early 20s and things, and somehow it got on the internet. So, whoops. Yeah, and that was in the Ukraine-controlled side of Donbass back in. That was just, I don't know, when was that? A year and a half ago or something. So anyway, supposedly the U.S. is taking out 700 of the 1,700 soldiers that are there, and it's probably 82nd Airborne. They didn't mention which unit it was. Maybe that's one reason why, because it's 82nd Airborne. And maybe they're going to put them back in next week. They're taking them out now and going to put them in next week, or they're rotating them. They're going to put some other ones in. Those are the people that are PCSing. They're leaving the service. ETSing, that's end of time in service. PCS, permanent change of station. But they're ETSing. They're leaving, probably getting out, and maybe PCSing. And so they're going to send another 700. As a matter of fact, a lot of these people, and I know that's basically from my unit, when in the Army, you have civilians, and those are not called troops. I don't know, you can maybe call some of them contractors. We did call them contractors, but these were not like fighting type people. These were people doing the electronic systems. Oh, lo and behold, that's probably also what they're doing there. Making sure that all the satellite link-ups and everything is good, repairing the equipment. A lot of them have, a little bit more training than a lot of the U.S. military people then do. So they have civilians doing it, and they're a little bit more in the rear, so they're not right up front on the front lines. So they have a lot of those people there too. And you might even have the commissary, or they'll have I think they call it the shopette. The shopette, something there for, 1,700. That's, I suppose, if they were 1,700, that would probably be two kind of slightly small battalions. So it's like 1,000 soldiers in a battalion. So it's like 2 battalions is probably what they had in there. And I don't know, that would possibly, that would justify a little PX, AFIs, but Army, Air Force, something exchange service. And I forgot what AFI stands for. That's the normally the company. I guess it's a private company that gets the food and things like that to military personnel and their dependents and all that. I don't know. I have no idea what things are like there. Okay. So, in other words, the 1,700 is a misleading number, and so you don't know exactly. None of us do. Okay. And also about these troops that are encircled in Pokrovsk and Kupiansk. Russia is allowing Western media even to go in. I think there's some certain stipulations, but anyway, Western media is even allowed, and Russian media, they're allowed to go in and even talk to these soldiers, these 10,500 soldiers. One place has 5,500, one has 5,000 that are surrounded, basically, and there's actually no way to get out. Even if they try to get out, they're just going to be, like picking off ducks leaving. So Russia controls, I guess, maybe the roads in, and but anyhow, it's one strange thing is, Russia says that if they surrender, I guess in this case Russia is going for territory. A lot of people are saying, it's not about territory. In Russia, that's true. In Russia, it's more about people, but Russia looks at people and territory as one and the same. They're basically like a mother and a child. The territory and people belong together, and the United States doesn't see it that way. Neither does the West. Neither, of course, does Ukraine, and especially doesn't. Well, maybe it does with Israel, but only if you are a Jewish, I guess, Zionist in particular. Then, yes, the people belong to the land. But if you're Palestinian, you don't get out of here. So. But Russia says when these people surrender, they're going to basically be able to go back home, because I don't know if they have the facilities to hold 10,500, and Ukraine will bomb them anyway. If they even try to give up or anything, Ukraine will use drone strikes or bomb them. And Putin is trying to get, well, he's through different channels trying to ask Zelensky to allow these people to surrender. And maybe Russia will look them over, see who they are. Some of them will probably not be able to go back home, but a lot of them will, apparently. And Zelensky doesn't want that, and you can understand that for some certain reasons. And the main reason, of course, is PR, and but I think to a large extent, maybe Russia is thinking that it shows that Zelensky is a liar. He lies, you know, and he says that they're winning and all that. A lot of people said, oh, he was saying they're winning in order for himself to, or him to get Tomahawk missiles. So, but he definitely lies. I don't know, who lies more, Netanyahu or Zelensky? Netanyahu. Well, I don't know. Netanyahu. Let's just call it that. Trump, he lies sometimes, and he exaggerates more than anything else. So, and I tell you what, even Putin, once in a while, he kind of, but he's not lying. Very, very rarely. Is it something maybe a little bit, but it's not a lie. It's, I think, I don't know, I won't even want to go into that. Now I have to, otherwise I'll get arrested by it, you know. No, but what he said, he back in the early days before the special military operation, I think at least as it was translated into English, he said they have no intention of attacking or crossing the border and going into Ukraine. And that's probably true. They probably had no intention of doing that. They were getting ready in case they had to, and then they actually did. So it's not really a lie. So that's where I'm justifying that right now. A Russian analyst put some things about what's going on lately in a perfect perspective, or a very good perspective. He said that for the U.S., the war is transactional. And I guess all dealings for the U.S. are transactional. And Donald Trump has almost even come right out and said that. You know, trade deals here, rare earth minerals, every place he goes, he's got to do something like that. You know, he can't let Putin always beat him. A leaf landed in my hand almost. But you know, when Putin goes there, he goes there to do the deals. It's not going to fake like you're trying to bring some kind of a peace or anything else. But you never know. Trump, he doesn't want to be beat by Vladimir Putin, so he has to come and act like he's getting rare earth minerals. Who knows what his deals are that he's come, you know, sealed, if he's sealed any deals. I got billions of dollars, hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars. So anyway, the U.S. is about money, you know, and in the case of Ukraine, it's about selling weapons and making billions of dollars. And you know, Donald Trump got himself the perfect situation. He sells them to Europe, and Europe sells, puts them on loan, whatever they're doing to Ukraine. And I'll tell you what, that makes things actually even worse. It's like the U.S. is Pontius Pilate. I have clean hands. We're not selling them to Ukraine. We are not doing that. It's Europe you have to go talk to, not me. And Europe is going to get themselves in so deep I don't even know how many weapons they've been sending already or what, but they're going to get themselves in pretty damn deep, and they're going to get to the point where they can't actually walk out of this war because they're already in deep. Maybe that's the whole deal about BlackRock. We're invested so deeply, and if Russia wins, then poof, we can just kiss, you know, who knows how many billions, a few billion of what they bought of land. They bought it on the cheap, of course. That's a good way to get some land. I'm not BlackRock, but I think, well, I don't have any money. If I did go get yourself 50 or 100 acres, or I don't even know what I guess I'd have to resell it. I can't farm that kind of that place. I don't know anything about that kind of farming anyway. Potatoes, maybe, like they do in Belarus. Okay. So let's see. There's a actually, this comes from a Russian analyst. Maybe he's military. His name is Knutov. I don't know. I just read some article and then they put this name in there. And didn't you? They didn't even introduce the guy. I don't know where they. I think maybe they were rushing to get the story up, so they didn't say who this guy is. He's just an analyst or something of some. Anyway, and he says the EU hawks can be expected to downplay this. So when these people that are encircled, and when they lose, which they've already lost, I guess, that the EU is going to say, oh, it's not important. That was not a strategic. Those were not strategic places, all that sort of thing. But I've been hearing Kupiansk for a long time now. Definitely that is some place that they were talking about even 2 years ago. I remember the name. Okay. They're going to say, oh, they're not strategically important. And then they're going to obviously continue to support Zelensky. Like I said, maybe they're already in too deep. Okay. And Putin, right after he announced this Borevsnik, this thing I call Thunderbird. He also then announced the Posiden. Wasn't there a movie called Poseidon? In the Hollywood movie. And that, I'll tell you what, Poseidon maybe to a large extent, I guess it depends on how you use it, that might be far more devastating than this missile. Borevsnik might be more devastating. This Poseidon, it's like a nuclear-armed, unmanned torpedo. And I'm sure you can put some kind of a conventional warhead on there. I don't know if they would, because that's kind of the waste of a probably expensive piece. But it's one of these insurance policy deals. But it's something that's and there's a lot of people. I think even in Finland, some of these people are saying, now you guys stop doing what you're doing to Russia. I mean, they're not dinking around, So this Poseidon, unmanned submarine vehicle, it's also nuclear powered. It can go thousands of miles with no refueling. I would even wonder, because it's got also a nuclear reactor in it. I keep wondering if this can go for many thousands of miles, maybe 20,000 miles. I don't know. But you don't want it to, then they got to find it. Maybe they got some kind of a Glasnost, not GPS, Glasnost tracker on there so they can find it if it ever gives up the ghost somewhere for who knows what all reasons. Maybe the US will find it. And anyway, so torpedo with a nuclear warhead. And Putin himself said it is unrivaled in speed and depth. So it doesn't, on its regular cruising around, I don't think it goes on to really, really super speeds. And but I guess the depth, it can go 1 kilometer. I don't think any submarine can go 1 kilometer deep. Wow. And before impacting, it can reach speeds of 120 kilometers per hour. 120 kilometers per hour for a submarine. I guess school's getting out. I don't know. There's a lot of kids. You missed a lot of them already. Some are getting it together over there. Okay. It can target carrier strike groups. So in other words, the United States with their aircraft carriers, definitely an entire aircraft carrier will be gone. Boom, everything. Everybody will be turned to things the size of these leaves here if that thing hits you. So goodbye. I don't know how many of these things are going to have floating around, how long it takes for them to get someplace, but it's not like they ever have to refuel. Essentially. And they can also hit naval bases. The United States has a lot of naval bases right on the coast, but in the San Diego and places like that. He said, like if you hit some installation where there's near a river, and these things can cause tsunamis, and it can go inland, and wash away cities. because the tsunamis will be so big because it's got a nuclear warhead on it. Absolutely incredible. Wow. Okay, apparently, I don't know how this was written, but apparently either they attempted another coup in Georgia. At least they had these videos, and I don't know if this is from something before, or else the Georgian authorities discovered another plot of the coup. They have the EU representatives there are planning. They discovered that, and it's undeniable. They have the evidence, I guess, to support it, that they're continuing to try to overthrow the government, to put in a puppet, you know, like they did in Moldova, maybe, I guess, Romania. So they want a puppet government, and they're really, really bummed and pissed off because they want that war against Russia. They want that two-front war. That's why it is so important. But I'll tell you, I don't know. I still think they're gonna be going for Transnistria. Those people over there, and of course, they are tightening up in Odessa. Like I said already, Zelensky removed the mayor, and he put a military junta in charge of Odessa right now. And obviously that's a Russian city. The people there are Russian, heavily Russian, and that's where they get a lot of their cannon fodder to throw to the front line to die under Russian artillery is from Odessa. And I guess now they even had a film footage, I guess it was even yesterday, and a whole bunch of people, you know, going after, getting these leaves coming to me, going after these recruiters that are grabbing people off the street, and they were smashing the windows of the recruiters things, and they ran off. I guess even one of them was even pleading for mercy, apparently, you know, and they had a lot of these tires. I guess it was near a tire shop or something, just the tire itself without the rim, and they were throwing the tires, you know, like at the windows of these vans. It was a small kind of a minivan sort of a thing, two of them there, and these recruiters, they skedaddled. They really damaged these vans, broke all the windows and things like that. And yeah, these people are probably going to be having guns, and they're going to be shooting civilians, you know. And they're already dressing up a lot of the time in civilian clothes, so they don't look like they're military anymore. And you know, very sneaky. They grab people, and then if people start to gather around, then if the guy's fighting enough, the cannon fodder guy, then they let them go, because they realize these people are all going to gang up on them, you know, by just snapping people up off the streets. Like I said, was it yesterday? Day before? Like what Frederick the Great's recruiters were apparently doing, and of course that's outlined in that very small book, if you guys are fast readers or whatever, if you want to read something very short, Candide. And I remembered something in there too. The recruiters, I guess what they would do is they would find these people, and they would get them like drunk, and then they would get some statements from them. Don't you love him dearly? Which means, of course, Frederick the Great. And of course, Voltaire was on the outs with Frederick the Great at that time, even though they were best buddies before that. And of course, that was like a little bit of revenge. You know, he's so, you know, making Frederick the Great. He doesn't say Frederick the Great. I think he calls Bulgar. I think he has called the country Bulgar, and the Bulgar king, if I remember it properly. But this was a long time. I read this in the 1980s, and I don't know if it's amazing if I get that fact right from back then. So, but anyway, but it looks like the EU is not giving up. They're not giving up on any of these countries, not even Slovakia. And all these damn upstart countries, like I think they're approaching it in Hungary a different way. I think they got some covert ways trying to get rid of Orban. And with Fico, I know they have like a lot of protests there, and of course they're doing a lot of violence in Serbia. It's amazing that Vučić is hanging on as well. But it makes you wonder where they're getting all the money to do this stuff. So anyway. Now, because of what Georgia discovered, that they're trying to overthrow the government there. So Georgia, I believe now, is boycotting the EU talks. I think talks to join the EU, apparently. I don't even see why they would want to. It's just like Serbia. Why would you want to go into the EU when these people are trying to stick a knife in your back? You know, look at all the problems that Orban and and Fico have, you know, Slovakia and Hungary. Wow. So, but another thing is, I don't know if they were doing that. That's what I was trying to say. I don't know if they were doing it, the coup yesterday, starting it. But obviously they have paperwork, and they have the proof that that they're planning a coup. So that is the bigger thing, and it was supposed to be happening in November. So next month, in a few days, or I don't know when it would be kicking off, but during November, that's when I guess the big coup is supposed to have kicked off. You know, it'd be very surprising if they actually really go through with it. Nevertheless, in November, we'll see next month. So I probably forget that I told you this, but we'll see if they're going to do that. You know, even after being caught. Wow. And the EU is still trying to get the frozen Russian assets. You know, when it's going to get winter here, me sitting on this bench, I'm going to have a frozen asset. You know, if I sit here, I have to keep moving probably when it gets cold. Actually, I hope to do it inside, but make these videos inside. But anyway, a lot of these people, and I think the government of Brussels, not Brussels, European Union Brussels, but government, you know, subservient government Brussels, I guess they're against the seizing of these frozen assets, and there's maybe some other ones, because it will undermine global confidence in Western banking. But Western banking, for the most part, it's Jewish banking. You know, there are only two types of banks, and some people refer to them as Muslim banking, and there is Jewish banking. And what we all see everywhere, all over the place, that is the Jewish banking system. And I guess the Muslim banking system, which is the same as the Christian banking system, even according to Jesus, is you don't charge interest on loans. Makes you wonder how they make their money, but anyway, they don't do that. I guess there is a fee, how that goes. There was a bank in America, I believe, I don't think it was the only one that is a Muslim bank, and it's called Larissa. And so you get loans and you don't pay interest rate. You pay some sort of a fee. I don't know how it actually works. They have limited amounts of people working there, and you know, they don't have ingenious ways to steal your money, so that saves some money. Because you have to have some people that are like, you know, Shylocks, like Shylock from A Merchant of Venice, trying to figure out ways to steal your money. Dr. Smith from Lost in Space, maybe. I don't know. I loved Lost in Space. Anyway, but it would reveal. Somebody said revealing Europe as a thief, breaking their own rules even. You know, obviously undermine the trust of anybody that wants to have their money in there. And I'll tell you what, I did have gold. I had gold in a vault company over there called Heraeus. If you're a dentist or something, you've probably heard of the firm Heraeus. And I think in Germany, Heraeus Kulzer. And, you know, they have a gold vault thing in silver, and I guess even some platinum and whatever. And I did have gold there. And when Ursula von der Leyen basically said she's going to give what you used to call a haircut, you know, take people's money from the bank, the first thing they would go for is the gold. People that have gold in any of these things, they would be going and seizing the gold. So got kind of panicky, and within some months, you know, had to take that trip. It was 2 years ago to go back, you know, and get the gold. And too bad, because the price doubled since then, and I wouldn't have to work, and I'm going to have to start working, and I wouldn't have to if I could be taking it out right now instead. But then how am I going to get it across the border? That's another thing. Sometimes that's costly. So so the Jewish banking I was saying, and that's so that we all have, these are all Jewish banks here. Okay, as we know, Trump, I think, did I talk about this? Metzi? Yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't mention this, I don't think, but there was not that much substance, not anything that they really put out. I can't remember how long they said they met, you know, but obviously the biggest thing is that the blockage, since China has a lot of rare earths and they know how to process them, and the United States is very desperate. Trump is desperate for rare earths. As you know, he's going to everybody and anybody. I said it yesterday, to try to get rare earths, rare earths, rare earths. Oh, he's dreaming rare earths. You know, rare earths, oh, rare earths. You know how that is. And but now he's I guess he's got release, because China has said they're going to resume sending the rare earths. They made some sort of a deal, obviously. What it was, I don't know. Some sort of, I think Donald Trump is supposed to lower tariffs, or I don't know. I think we've been here before. I don't know. But of course not the rare earths part, the tariff sort of a deal. Donald Trump has got to keep upsetting the apple cart. He's got to keep everybody jumping. I want to see you jumping. Oh, you guys don't know that song. It's from the Caribbean. So anyway, maybe Xi is doing a head fake on Trump. I don't know. He might be anyway, in different ways. You know, not maybe purposely, but yeah, I don't know. Donald Trump, he's makes you wonder if he would stop doing his faking everybody out. He's faking us out, like I said, but you know, we're a different story. We're not. We don't have a leader. It should be Donald Trump, but he's the one that's faking us out. Our own leader, anyway. So another startling thing that's happening today. It's happening today, as a matter of fact, like an hour ago, and it is sad news for Orthodox Christians. They are now starting today liquidating all of the property and the belongings of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. Maybe a lot of them will be going to the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, but in any case, you know, and a lot of the people that are there, they're kind of not very happy, and they're gathering outside of this big building, and they got lots of stacks of all the paperwork all over the place of the whatever property or things that the Orthodox Church in Ukraine owns, and you know, giving it to and selling it, probably like I know a lot of the, I thought already that they had sold a lot of the icons, the ancient icons and things, to rich people in France. As a matter of fact, I know they did. They had auctions in Paris and all that, auctioning off a lot of these ancient relics of Christianity and things from the Orthodox Church. But anyway, this was all done at the personal request of Zelensky to do all this stuff and sell all these things. So it makes you wonder how the Ukrainian people are gonna love him. Because some of these people, they may be not pro-Russian, but they are pro-Orthodox Christian. And I don't know if they're going to like Zelensky. I'll tell you what, Zelensky probably wouldn't win an election. They'd probably need cheating like Moldova. That's maybe why he's very good friends with Mia Sandu in Moldova, because maybe she can teach him how to cheat on elections like she did. Really, really, really big. Yeah, incredible. But I guess it's because of, what is it called, from the diaspora. That's how they got it. She lost, I guess, the election of the Moldovan people that live there, and they just blocked all the people in Russia, the hundreds of thousands or whatever of Moldovans that are in Russia that would have voted against her. So they made sure those votes didn't get through. Or Transnistria, they blocked the bridges, if you guys remember that. And they only accepted the votes, and they have hundreds, I think 700 voting stations in Europe, and 2 in all of Russia. So they make sure that those people couldn't vote. That's how that worked out. So anyway, people, that's all I have to put out today. I hope everything's going good. I hope you got better weather than we do. It's getting colder here, and but today's not super cold. It's just going to get that way. And but anyway, you guys don't take any wooden nickels. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.